How's it going, everyone? So I'm just about settled into the new place, but there's still a lot of things happening actually in the background as far as this podcast and a bunch of other podcasts that not only am I a host of, but I produced. So let me tell you a little bit about those. So I also produce Reaction Cast, a podcast where I talk about TV shows and the such. And then I'm also one of the hosts of the Save Point podcast, a gaming podcast where, basically we talk about games. But like I said, there's things happening in the background, so there's going to be news, hopefully in the coming weeks. I'm looking forward to that. And actually, there's a big event going to be happening. I'll be posting little secret hints here and there on Twitter and Instagram, so follow those social media accounts if you like. Then you might be able to find out what I'm planning. But there is one thing I want to state as far as this episode is concerned. So this guest of Confession Radio, I've been listening to their show for a while, and it's been a while since I've talked with this individual. These recordings were recorded weeks ago, but I've still been listening to their show. I even posted my own confession to their podcast. Hopefully they might upload it, and I'll post a link to it on my Twitter. But it's this specific episode, after listening to it, after editing it for a couple hours, it's a reminder that I need to, I really enjoy doing this, and I'm happy that there are people out there listening to this. And I don't know how, I hate repeating myself, but it's honestly, it's you guys listening, sharing it, that thank you. So this is a little longer than normal, so you know what, let's get on with the show. And welcome back to another episode of the Convoluted Podcast. It's your host, Jesus, aka Tyrant Communist, and today we have another guest from the realm of Reddit. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is David Allen, and I am the host of the podcast Confession Radio.
Okay, so I had a chance, or actually a good amount of time to actually listen to your podcast. Can you explain to the audience a little bit about it?
Sure. So Confession Radio is based on the listeners' problems that need enlightening, and sometimes just some light advice about, what's going on in their lives. So they'll write into us, and myself or any of my awesome volunteers will help answer some of their questions. Lately, we've been taking a different turn with different segments, like This Is My Story, and those segments are about people who have been through a lot of life and have kind of pulled through and are so happy to tell their stories today.
So, yeah. So I got to listen to the last 5 episodes. What one thing I do enjoy about your podcast in particular is they're kind of nice and small and condensed, so you can enjoy a good amount of them. I enjoy the variety of what you and your colleagues do. I like that there's no one thing, there's nothing to kind of make it stale.
There's always something new and fresh out there, always.
So that's something that I really enjoyed about your show, and it's been very entertaining the last while listening to the last couple episodes, and I might actually go back and listen to a couple more previous ones.
I appreciate that. We're also interviewing as well. I have interviewed quite a bit these past couple of weeks, so you'll start seeing the interviews starting to pop up. Another fellow podcaster of Oh, What a Glorious Morning is coming up, and Paul Cram, the actor, also Bianca Ryan from America's Got Talent. So we're getting a very diverse amount of people who want to be a part of this. So I think it's a great thing.
I know that isn't that amazing what you can really do when you kind of put yourself out there. It's
Yeah, it's what's so amazing to me though is that these A-list celebrities want to be on our shows, and it's not that our shows can't offer anything. We can't obviously offer notoriety, but we can certainly offer something different that they're used to. They're not getting the same interview questions. They're not there's nothing formal about what we do.
don't I know it. Getting to back to your show, what kind of started the idea or the conception of your show to begin with?
Well, I've been podcasting since 2009. I've had many successful shows. And prior to that, I was also in radio for many, many years. So I'm very blessed and excited to share my skills because everything you hear on Confession Radio is produced by me. I gather everything together, I put it together, I produce it, and I publish it. So it started with a show called Live and Unleashed. It was supposed to be just a little segment, like a 5-minute segment on there. And then it just kind of grew into what it is today, kind of a spin-off of its own show. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Okay, nice. Wow, 10 years of podcasting and plus just overall a lot of knowledge behind that as well.
Yeah, it's about 15 years I've been. I guess you could say I've been in the industry for that long.
That's quite amazing. I'm not gonna lie, that level of like work and effort into something you've enjoyed is something that I've been trying to strive for myself. Um, so what what got you into doing this type of work in the beginning, your early days?
Well, when I was younger, I mean, I've always music has been such an influence. It's such an inspiration in my life, and I remember being a child sitting in front of the radio. Like I used to find old radios, like when people would throw them out, and I would, I'm that nerd that would put them back together and make them better. And my whole room was like a hodgepodge of just absolute speakers everywhere. So I remember sitting in front of my stereo one day, and Tina Turner was on a radio station. They were doing an interview with her, and I was like, "Oh my God, I have so many questions. I have so many questions for her. Where did this come from? How did this and what inspires you? Things like that." And you couldn't ask it because back in the day, there wasn't the internet. Like there was no way to actually, without physically writing somebody. So I'm kind of telling my age, but so it inspired me to do these different shows to just be different and unique in that sense because as a celebrity, you're getting asked the same questions in every forum. So that not only am I helping other people with Confession Radio, but I'm also asking some unique stuff that most people want to ask but can't reach out to.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell that from the just a select few. It it is interesting. It's kind of the way I've it's the way I hope this show turned out or turns out. Because the early conception of this show used to be kind of your group of friends talking about the news, and it evolved into this interview style, game showy podcast, and the feedback from not only from my colleagues but the audience have been great, and I've had the pleasure to talk to a great amount of people, and like you said, the internet has helped a lot with that.
Oh,
Just the
sure. I mean,
ability.
they just did a study saying like what 90 million people are listening to podcasts these days. This is the new wave of getting information now. And what's so great about podcasting and like your show, my show, and everybody else out there is that you can be whatever the hell you want to be. If you are a person who just constantly bitches and moans about life, you can do that, and somebody out there is going to listen to that. Or if you're a person who wants to motivate people and give your take on things, like it used to be just Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and all these motivational people, but now it's everybody. It's what the listener wants to listen to. It's a listener's market now. I mean, we got a million different podcasts out there, but we can make them whatever we want and how we want to do it. And I think that's what's cool. And there's no censorship. There's nobody telling you what you can and cannot do. So it's absolute freedom of what you want to do.
Exactly. I couldn't even say it any better than that. Um, I have a question for you here. Since you've been in in this field for so long, what are some things you have noticed in the last couple of years that have changed in this medium?
The amount of podcasters now, and the amount of celebrities doing it as well, like Will Ferrell is now releasing his podcast as Anchorman. So he's doing that character as just a podcast of just Anchorman. I know Joe Rogan is like the original podcast king, and he will never be touched by pretty much anybody. He brings in the most listeners and the most sponsors, and that's great. And what's so unique about Joe's show is it's sometimes 2 to 4 hours of just nonsense, just talk. I don't have the patience to sit down and listen to that, but so the things I've seen is just the amount of celebrities coming forward with it, because again, they know this is a medium that it's good, it's viable, it's very profitable if you get into the right medium. So the other thing is quality too. I mean, when I first started this, I started doing this on a platform called Blog Talk Radio, and this is before I had the whole setup, and you would not believe how inexpensive it really is to sound great. And so at first I was like, I did it with a partner, Liz Stone, and she kept telling me, "Oh, the quality sucks. It's the phone line. It's no, Liz. They're listening for the quantity. They're listening for the content. They don't care about the quality." Boy, was I wrong. So if I can offer any advice to anybody listening, $100 microphone and a $200 piece of computer, and you can get free audio software editing tools online to just get you started. And when you start making money, then you can upgrade from there, and you just sound like $1 million.
I agree with that 100%. Trust me. Like some of the, some people have told me to kind of delete some of my older episodes, but uh, I from some people I've spoken to in the last couple, well, actually these past couple weeks, who I've interviewed, the I don't know how you decided to agree to come on my show, but some of the people that I've spoken with, they've listened to like an episode or two of the newer episodes, but some of them actually went back and listened to like the first few ones, and they're like, yeah, that's not what my show used to be. And I'm not gonna lie, it sounds jarbled, it's a mess. The noise quality in the background, it's raw. I'm not gonna lie, it's raw.
Well, I mean, you gotta learn to crawl before you walk, right? I mean, the same thing here. I mean, if you heard back in 2009 when we first started this nonsense, like, I mean, we were talking to Taylor Dane, to Dolly Parton, all these really big celebrities on a phone line, and it's like, but we've evolved obviously from that point. And you're going to. I like to leave up. I mean, last year I did 319 episodes of Confession Radio, and if you heard the very first one to the end of the year, you would hear the difference. And I leave it up on purpose because I want people to hear my growth. And not only just for people, but for me as well. You're going to get rejected until you're big enough and they feel that you're, because the question that everybody asks when they go on other people's show is, what's in it for me? How can this show help me get further? And until you can offer them numbers and quality, they're not going to do it. But that's okay, though, because there's a million other people out there that will have even more interesting conversations than what they're trying to sell on your show.
There you go. That's actually a pretty good tip for anyone who's trying to actually make this into a profitable endeavor. For me myself, this podcast and kind of some of my other projects, they're just kind of passion projects. I am this in particular is just for me to get a chance to speak to people that I would never get a chance to speak with.
Right, and I love that it's a passion project. It's an energy project, because that's what I'm saying. Everybody's going to try to use your medium to help boost them. The most interesting conversations I've actually had were with people like yourself. Just candid conversationalist. It's great talking to celebrities. It truly is, but you only have a short period of time with them, and there's canned questions that you have to ask them. You can't go off the cuff. Otherwise, it's nope, we're not publishing. So.
I've noticed that a lot. Something that when I was younger, you really just didn't know, because you would just see these interviews like, oh, people are going to be asking them questions, but then you kind of, as you get older or you get a little bit more knowledgeable, you understand that there's preset criteria, there's things you can and can't say, and then wow.
Absolutely, and God forbid you say it. I mean, it's like they're threatening lawsuit, and don't you dare publish that. And it's just not worth it to me. That's why Confession Radio is so unique, because it's from everyday people, and you'll get a mix of different people. Like I said, Paul Cram, he's an actor and he's played some major roles, but he's so down to earth and he's so cool and such a huge supporter. Mela also is one of my favorites. She is a songwriter. She has her own album out and things, but she's just so down to earth, and we could talk for hours about nothing. Great.
You gotta love those moments, honestly. Then here, what was one of the most surprising guests that you got that you're like, wow, really?
The most surprising for me was Dolly Parton. She was so cool. She was just so down to earth and so funny. When we did Get Unleashed, our motto was to unstrap your bra and just enjoy the show, pretty much. Kind of sit in the bathtub with your wine and just listen to us rant about whatever we were ranting about that day. And so when I was talking to her, talked about her Blue Smoke album, it was great. Sent me the album, by the way, signed it and everything. She's so phenomenal. And at the end of the show, I said, "So Dolly, how did it feel to unstrap your bra and get unleashed with us?" And she just made these two badunk sounds, like ta-dunk dunk, and was like, "Oh, it feels great." It was awesome.
That's so great. Oh, that thing. So let's kind of steer away from the podcasting game.
Sure.
What are some other things that make David David?
I'm just very unique in the sense of the way I look at things. I kind of try to look at both sides of everything. I try to, as one of my friends would say, I try to pluck myself off the earth and put myself on the moon. I've learned a lot of life lessons in terms of people's relationships and wanting to help people, because they got to want to help. They got to want to heal. They have to want you to step in and say, "You're doing the wrong thing here," because when you're in the situation, you can't see it. And I've experienced this, and I've been on both sides of it. I've been in it and I've been out of it. So what makes me me is just the inspiration of every day, just watching people and trying to understand how they act, listening to how they act, and just trying to play off of that and help them understand how much of a better person they could truly be, or they're who they want to be, and they're okay with that. Like people who work jobs for 35 years, that just blows me away, because I couldn't sit around for 35 minutes, so it's so astonishing to me sometimes. I'm like, so I talk to them like, what kept your interest for so long? And it's just, I love talking to people like that, and I just love getting to know more.
That's great. Because that kind of actually blends well with your work. That's you having the ability to see the people, feel the people, and talk with them. That actually works well. Even though we're trying to move away from the podcasting game, it's helped develop that along the way. That is great.
Yeah, and being able to pull information out of people just by being a conversationalist. I mean, the way I am now is the way I'm in real life. Like, come on over. We'll have a glass of wine. We'll talk about life. We'll see what's going on. And what we can learn off of each other. Every person, good, bad, and ugly, we have something to learn from them. Controversial topics. They are the biggest life lessons, and we're not paying enough attention to that stuff. I know we don't want to fame like the shooters for instance. We don't want to fame these people, but we also want to understand. So how can we prevent this from happening again? And there's a lot of families, a lot of people who are victims, and the Me Too movement, all of this stuff. And that's the stuff that I don't want to use the word excites, because it excites me in a way that I'm so intrigued. I want to know more about it. Why, how, the why behind the why is what I'm always looking for.
That's true, because thankfully, since the internet, we've had the ability for people to share so much information in the last couple of years, and sometimes just literally thrown in your face. That can be good or bad depending on the person. I myself, like I mentioned multiple times on this podcast, I've kind of stayed away from Facebook. I've actually left Facebook. I've been off it for now, almost a year now. Wow, it's almost been a year since I've actually logged into Facebook.
Every millennial right now is dropping their phone. That is insanity.
like I'm still on the social media game. You know, I have Twitter, I have Instagram. If that's how you guys want to contact me, there you go. But Facebook, for me, Facebook kind of just became a cluster of just information that I literally did not want to see. Like some of it was good, but then it's just bombardment of nonsense. Like there were
Sure.
some like, but like you said, there are stuff that you want to know about, uh, the good and the bad, and like you said, the ugly, and it's sometimes it needs to be spoken about. Uh, with just this month alone has the year just started, and this month has already been bananas as far as
Oh, 2018 is a mess. I mean, and so is 2019. And I agree, it's a political stomping ground. I mean, of course, our current administration is such a, I'm sorry, the Trump supporters, but it's such a mess. And I'm not a political person by any means, so you will not hear me talking about that. But I will say that it is a mess, and it's affecting so many people out there.
what's funny is sometimes we don't even have to talk about it in a political standpoint because it's just such a circus. What's happening? It's like our our little president is literally on Twitter left and right acting like a child. Like sometimes I can't talk politics like it because it just feels, I don't know, it's now I can say it just feels bewildered, but it's just, I don't know, it's just saddening, but there's
Right. And see, that's your perception of it. And let's talk about that for a second, because your
go for it.
perception of the president is a baby on Twitter, but you talk to somebody who supports him rather, and they say it's quite the opposite. So my stance is literally right in the middle. I try to pull myself away from the situation and look down on it and go, okay, so he thinks that he's a baby. He thinks that he's correct. What are my feelings on it? And we get so emotional about things, our devices, our Facebook, social media, the choices that we make, that at the end of the day, that's what makes us, though. We're human because we can make our own choices. If I choose not to like the president, that shouldn't piss you off, right? I mean, if you told me that you hated Cher, I'd be like, well, good for you. I think she's amazing, So there's so many emotional statements that go on Facebook that people just, you got to separate fact from emotion. That's what our problem is.
Oh no, that is a statement that I wish everyone understood and acknowledged, but would not agree on. Sadly, uh, we're
Yeah, it's tough, and it's tough trying to convince them to see your point of view. I mean, it's good to have a healthy conversation. I'm friends with somebody who is an avid Trump supporter. It doesn't piss me off because it doesn't affect our relationship, because we're both adult enough to say, like, we can jab at each other every so often, like, haha, I'll see a meme or something and I'll send it to him just to, get a rise out of him. But we are both adult enough to say that's your view and this is my view, and we keep that separate from our friendship.
I like that. That's a good way for hopefully people to understand each other a little bit better. Just have a healthy conversation or debate on things. Like you don't have to be able to convince someone that you're right. It's more just kind of getting the midway point a little bit, kind of getting to understand why they think they are. Well, not wait, what? I confused my own words right there. What was? Hey, words come to me. Words.
I
Get
get it. I understand. I get what you're saying, and that's the thing. We're not always going to understand each other's point of view, and that's okay. And that's what I think most people are missing, is that just because you feel you're right about something, you're going to defend it, and you should. But you also have to have the mindset too that, well, first of all, I won't argue with an idiot, so that's my first thing. Secondly, I come from a place of love, but I'm not afraid to set a motherfucker straight either. So, you know,
it.
I will be the first to tell you, like, okay, I disagree with that, and I know when it's time to walk away. You know what? I'm going to agree to disagree at this point, and we're just gonna end this, and that's the end of it.
That's a good way to deal with any like strong, like when you're put in situations like that is a good way to uh go around that, because like there's been multiple situations that like myself and probably anyone out there listening, you get roped into some of these I'm gonna just quote conversations, but it ends up being one sided, and it's just then it, just a yelling match at that point.
Sure. And that's what I'm saying, though. You have to know when enough is enough. You've said your point, and we're done. And again, the best advice I can offer is just do not argue with an idiot. And the definition of that in my brain is I've given you many counterpoints, and you're still going at me. You clearly don't see my point of view, and that's okay because I'm not understanding yours either. So change the topic, grab a cup of tea, and let's do something else.
There you guys go. Good advice right there.
It's so simple, but it's the simplicity that I think that confuses the people the most.
And I agree. It's something that I don't know why that is. It's a lot of the simple things that we've been taught can get so misconstrued that it's I don't know how this generation of people have been so well the terms like softened is being thrown around a lot. Like,
well, I think that it's the miseducation of people, honestly. You know, they're not, and I'm not using this term in a derogatory way, but they're not educated enough to stand their ground even. You know, there's plenty of topics that I can talk about, but I wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about, only what I know in my brain, which is where the emotional statements come in. If I'm factual and I feel that I'm factual, then I'm going to keep going at you because I know that this is the way I feel about it. This is my facts. This is my perception, my reality. And a lot of people have a hard time separating both of them, their reality from the actual facts, because this is what they want it to be.
that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense for any like general debatable thing. When you're thrown into kind of a match like that, a little knowledge helps a lot, but a little passion doesn't hurt either.
Agreed. And it's okay. Again, you know, I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying. You know, I'm simply saying it's okay to argue your point, stand your ground, do what you feel you have to do, but you have to understand when it's time to draw back and say, okay, this is clearly going nowhere, and it's either going to A, ruin our relationship, or B, ruin our friendship, and is it really worth all of that?
And that's a great add-on to my relationship episode. That's a bonus, guys. I'll try to add that somewhere later. But yeah, I had a whole hour-long discussion with relationships and developing them, and like for myself, like I mentioned this before, with just kind of spawning it down or dumbing it down a little bit. It's just the ability to be able to connect with someone begins with you being able to force yourself out in the world a little bit. But then the second part will be to be able to actually converse with the person for an extended amount of time, and then seeing if that's something you would like to continue.
Connection's it's such a great thing, though. It truly is. I mean, if you can feel the energy of somebody, you immediately know whether A, you want to be around that person or you don't. When you are in their stratosphere or their zip code, and their energy is so contagious, it's such an amazing thing to be around somebody that just energizes you. You know, you earlier used the phrase passion project. You know, I look at this, I think passion's a liar. I truly do, because everyone says follow your passion, follow your passion. Well, I mean, my passion was to be a Lady Gaga when I grew up, but here I am, you know, so clearly that's not going to happen. But what energizes you? What makes you get up in the morning and go, God, I want to talk on this show. God, I want to, you know, do another episode of Confession Radio. God, I can't wait to talk to Marcus, who was slammed into a windshield and lost all of his mobility. Then 5 years later, he's here to talk to me about it. That's the energy that I live for.
Well, that's weird. That's kind of how I feel when I'm looking forward to talking to my guests. It's like I get a chance to when they provided the projects or some of the works they do, and after listening, just like I listened to you guys, your show and some of the other things, I just was excited to finally be able to not physically, but vocally talk with you.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's exciting because you're getting to know the masterpiece. You're getting in the brain of the creator of somebody of something that you're excited about, and that's just again that stems back to why I started this to begin with. I wanted to talk to a celebrity. I wanted to talk to a Tina Turner or a Dolly Parton and get into their brain and ask the questions that nobody else ever has.
and on top of that, we have, well, actually, I actually do. Okay, question here.
Uh huh.
So we've t- we spoke a little earlier about the some of the limitations that that interviewers have with celebrities. Has there ever been a time where you've been kind of red taped a little bit as far as uh, interviews with some of your guests?
Yes, when it comes to the more A-list celebrities, like when I spoke to Johnny Depp, he was promoting a movie, Black Mass, at the time, and it was a 5-minute interview, and they gave you 5 questions to ask. Now, can you imagine being that celebrity and constantly being asked the same thing? Hi, I'm David Allen from Confession Radio, and so tell me about Black Mass and your character this, and so what I tried to always do was try to kind of push that aside, but every time I did, like, because they controlled so much of it that they recorded it and they would send you back the final produced piece that you were allowed to play legally. And
Wow.
none of the questions that I asked off the cuff were anything like, so they were all cut out because that's how proprietary they are with their information.
Really? Wow. That's more than I thought would happen in the background.
Oh yeah, and they tell you prior to the show, these are the do's and don'ts. Do not talk about this. You are allowed to talk about this. They want to know your numbers. They want to know how many downloads you have, how long you've been doing it, what is the topics you plan on discussing, and whatever you send them is what you have to do.
Interesting. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's pretty interesting. But I've also talked to some celebrities that were totally off the cuff and that were totally cool, So, I mean, it's kind of a mixed thing, but Johnny Depp has to be one of the most, tightest ones I've ever dealt with.
I can only imagine the not the stress, but more of the not,
Frustration. It was
yeah,
frustrating for me
there you go.
because
That's the
there's
word.
so many things I wanted to talk to him about, but I just wasn't allowed. And, for the notoriety piece of it, just to say, oh my God, I spoke to Johnny Depp, really hasn't got me any further than going, oh, I spoke to Dolly Parton about unleashing her bra, So it's like, it's so crazy.
It's those moments that you want to share, right? It's that excitement of that little random like moment, right? Like you can say that you spoke with A, B, or C, but when you can say share a small tale of like X, Y, and Z, like that's kind of the way I've been with my show. Is like I've I've been fortunate these last few months with my guests. Um, like everyone's been a thrill, as including yourself. It's been fun speaking to you. It's
Yeah.
because then I love sharing it with my friends and families because then they get like they know what I'm doing. They're not super interested, but when I tell them about a little bit about the guests, a little bit just an idea of what we talked about, those little moments, those little nuggets, then they
Right.
like,
And they light up with joy because they don't, I mean, it is interesting to hear that aspect of it. And like I said, I've spoke to many in my career. I've spoke to many A-list celebrities, and it is just not the same. Just like I spoke to Bianca Ryan not too long ago from America's Got Talent. She was the original winner of America's Got Talent, the very first winner ever, and had a paralyzed vocal cord right after. Had a good career for a little bit, and
wait,
then
really?
here she is now back at the Champions, and she's phenomenal. Her voice is just absolutely phenomenal. So what was cool about her though was that she's so real, and she was so cool. Like the interview was excellent because all we did was just we talked a little bit about that, but we also went on to other things as well. And being a conversationalist yourself, you have to be able to pull that stuff out of other people. And that's what makes confession radio so interesting.
That's one of the things I have to work on. That ability to kind of transition. It's It's
And
been
you will.
my. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. It's
You will. The more people you speak to, the more experience you're going to get. The more, it's all about playing off that energy. You're going to have a guest that's like, we talked to Pandora's Box from RuPaul's Drag Race back in the day, and she was just very, like, for a drag queen, you would think, holy crap, she'd be larger than life. But and I love her, I truly love her, but she was just so dull, and it was so hard to match that energy. So it's all about matching the energy of the guest. And I could be larger than life, but then I can also be very, meh. We'll just talk about whatever.
interesting. I never. I should figure that out too. That's good advice. I'm not gonna lie.
It's going to take a while. It truly is, because I don't know how you are in real life either. But again, who I am here is who I am in life. So it's about knowing your audience and knowing, what's going to be good, what's not going to be good. And as Liz Stone would say, and she would laugh when she hears this, that I never prepped anything. When I would go on an interview with somebody, I just kind of winged it, and whatever happened. But for years, she told me, you need to prep. And she was right. So now I have like a whole list of things that kind of guidelines, because you don't know if your guest is going to take the show and just keep talking, and then you take topics out of what they're talking about, or if you're going to have a guest that goes, yeah, so you got a new album out. That's great. Yeah. And then you're like, shit, what am I going to talk about now?
I've had a few of those. I think you yourself have had those moments where you listen back to your work, and I just couldn't release those episodes. It wasn't the best way I could say it would be they weren't enjoyable to listen back. Like I listened back to my after editing and everything. I listened to them at least 3 times forward, and they're a little bit over an hour long sometimes.
Yeah, but what you have to understand too, that although this is about us, the podcaster, but it's also about your audience too. What you might not enjoy, other people might. So there's a lot of information, regardless of how boring this person was. But there's one person out there who's going to, oh yeah, oh man, that's a great idea, or I really like this. So no matter how dull it is for me, or how ridiculous, or whatever, I still release it, because that may not be the most downloaded episode, but it's something out there that is going to reach that one person that needs to hear it at that exact moment.
Then I might be releasing some lost episodes in the future. Maybe.
Just call them that. Oh, I was digging in the archive, and look, I found some lost episodes.
Yeah, it's like, actually, that's interesting to know, because there, like, a lot of people I've talked to have also had those moments too, and they've always kind of had the same mentality that I've had of like that. But thinking of it like the way you spoke, it makes sense, because for me, I've only recently been listening to podcasts within the last, I want to say 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. It's something like I didn't know what it was. I didn't really like understand it, or it's not hard not to understand what it is now. But well, actually, there's so many different types of podcasts that it might be hard to explain sometimes. But
sure, yeah.
Going back a little bit, like listening to some of the shows that I've been listening to in the last couple months and year, a little over a year now, there has been episodes that I've been more surprised that they put out that I've actually enjoyed myself. Maybe not others, but you're right. It's maybe something I haven't implemented myself, and maybe I've just been too not hard. What's the right word? Not this one.
We are our worst critic. We are our worst critic when it comes to this.
There you go. That's
thank you. And that's why I say, release whatever you have, because again, you may not like it. And there's been episodes where, and like I said, Pandora Box was the most prime episode I can think of that comes to my mind, is that I was like, oh crap, do I even release this? Is this even worth it? I talked to another queen shortly after that who had us on speakerphone while she was applying her eyebrows, and it's like, you're cutting in and out. The audio is terrible. Now that's where I draw the line. If the audio is nuts and it's just not good, it's not playable, there's no reason. But the way I look at this, these people have reached out to us to be on our show. They have something to say. How their message is delivered is on them. I'm offering them a platform. I'm offering them the time to talk to them. How they deliver their message and how they want it to be heard, that's up to them. There's nothing you could do about it.
That's a great way to, mostly for like our style of podcasting, that's the great way to put it. For the
Right. If you have something to promote and you want it to sound good, of course you're going to try to make it sound good, and you have somebody who you want to talk to. I'm going to invest in, even if it's not a microphone, but at least if I'm going to be on a phone, I'm going to be somewhere where I know I have good connection or going to sound halfway decent.
Mm-hmm. So, like that everything you've said and everything we've spoken about, that's a really great advice for anyone listening out there and thinking about just overall podcasting in itself, including these interview style ones. That's great advice. Like think about it, really think about it. These are some good words that have been spoken by David.
The second part of that, though, is so you got your setup, you're up and running, you got your podcast, you got a couple episodes under your belt. You want to never stop learning. Never stop learning. Join some groups on Facebook, some podcast communities. Get on Reddit, look for podcast communities, and just really read what other people are saying, because they will teach you how to elevate, how to take yourself to the next level. Don't ever compare your success to somebody else. Just because so-and-so has more downloads than you do, that doesn't mean that your show is terrible. That's just their niche. They found their niche over there. You are still in the discovery phase. You're still exploring, trying to find what other people want to hear out of you. So just always learn, always do research. If you have an opportunity at work, where you're not podcasting and you're at work and you have a job where you have some time, just to research things, constantly be a part of those forums, constantly be a part of those communities, and just read what other people are saying, because you would not believe how much you'll learn from other people.
And I second that. Trust me. Like the podcasting subreddit has been a lifeline for me, not only for guest hunting, but just for overall, not only equipment, some techniques, like random questions, like that subreddit alone has helped me improve a lot in the past 6 months of this show. Like I said earlier, like I was just honestly recording like super raw, like information. Now it's a little bit more refined, I would say. It's easier to listen to. One, quality has improved. Your guys are all welcome. But also the idea of changing the show, because what a lot of people didn't know about my show is when I first started it, it was, like I said, it was like a news kind of show with a bunch of friends. And for anyone listening, another thing is like scheduling. When you're in a group, scheduling can become an issue.
Absolutely, yes, it can. Because real life shit happens. You got to work, right? This isn't paying your bills, so scheduling is always, and then having a social life, working, podcasting. It's a lot.
Exactly. So what ended up happening was, as we were trying to do a weekly thing, but then it kind of turned into a bi-weekly thing. Then we took a month break. Like I wanted to continue doing this audio platform because I like I said, I was enjoying listening to it and I wanted to be a part of it. And as time moved on, they stepped away. They decided it was nothing they no longer wanted to be part of, and I had to decide on what I wanted to do, because I personally could not have done a news show, because I don't think I would be able to provide it in a way that would be entertaining enough when you're able to throw it back and forth within a conversation to get an idea of probably someone else's perspective. So,
right, but see, again, you won't know that until you try it, though.
That's true. So maybe you guys look forward to something in the future.
Because there's an audience out there for everybody. There truly is. There's a seat, as they say, out there for everybody.
Oh
Somebody wants to
no,
see something, and they want to hear something.
actually, that's what I'm currently doing with a different podcast. I have an experimental commentary podcast that I'm working on using Anchor. Thank God that one's free. I would not be
Yeah.
able to do it. That one, if I had to pay hosting fees. Podbean, I still love you. Don't kick me out. But but when trying to do something experimental like that, having that platform for that makes it easier because providing commentary over a TV show, then talking about it afterward, doesn't sound that entertaining. But like you said, someone out there is listening because someone it actually is. And thank you for that one random listener that might be listening to this.
And that's all it takes. Just one. It truly does just take one person to listen to this, because then it spreads like wildfire. Oh my God. How do you think the Bible got started? One person came out of the bushes and said, look, I got this book from Jesus. And all of a sudden, everybody else is like, oh shit, we got to follow these rules.
Hey, that's the way to put it. I'm not gonna lie. That's been around for so long.
Right. But it started with one person. And then he convinced another person to believe it. And then they convinced another person. And then it just kept going from there.
And it just kept getting added on by a different person, actually.
Exactly. And I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying every show is going to be a success. I've had some pretty flop shows, and I've also had some pretty, excellent shows. So it's really, again, knowing the energy, knowing the audience, and knowing when you want to call it enough. But progress is better than perfection.
Oh, all right. Actually, I have another question then. You've worked on multiple different projects. What are some of the other types of shows you've worked besides kind of interview, or has interviews been kind of the only thing you've done?
Well, there's a couple shows, like I said, Get Unleashed, Live It Unleashed, and Between Us Girls was a mixture of interview and topic, very, very topical. We would do, my co-host and I, Liz Stone, we would do a lot of very uncensored, just kind of off the cuff, whatever Trump was doing that day or whatever's going on in the world at that time, we would discuss it, and then we would bring on guests to kind of give us their opinions about it too, the LGBTQXZ community, and the transgender rights and all that stuff. So we've always done different things. Again, whatever's most interesting, whatever's trending at that time, we would kind of give our thoughts and opinions about it.
That works. I'm not gonna lie. That works in a way because it's kind of how the internet works. It loves trendiness. It's something sometimes we have to dip ourselves into sometimes to kind of stay relevant. Sure. And it's not bad.
Having that co-host as well. I never thought that in my wildest dreams I'd ever do anything on my own, because Liz and I have always done things together. But now that I've done it, I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. I can do this. Like, because I always thought, what the hell am I going to talk about? This is going to be stupid. I have nobody. I feed off of other people's energy. I'm an energy person, so I like to see an audience that's listening. I like to know that people are listening and they're interacting and things like that. So podcasting was such a different beast for me because of my radio career. I had my own morning show where people would call in, they would request, they would win, they would do different things. Whereas podcasting, I was literally talking to the wall and just hoping that somebody would be listening.
Sorry, that's literally what I'm doing right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, aren't we all? I'm staring at my wall right now. It's just, but at the end of the day, when this is published, there's going to be, listeners. People are going to listen to it. And that's what I love about podcasting, though, is because unlike radio, you can hear this anytime you're ready.
That is true. That's a great thing. It's on demand, literally. I love that. That's a great thing that's happened in the last couple of years. Not only audio but video. We've all been very fortunate having that option in our life with us moving and moving.
And the internet moves at the speed of light, man. I tell you what, it's just like it's here and it's gone. It's just like trending on Twitter for one moment and then it's just gone. I just hit new and noteworthy a couple days ago and now it's gone. So it's like it's such a crazy balance when it comes to the internet, iTunes and all this other, where you're posting the platforms. That's the other thing. More and more platforms are coming out. Anchor, Podbean. I know they've been around for a while, but they're just now gaining popularity.
And that's a that I like that you said that because it's I'm glad that like the idea of podcasts have now like it was reasonably like I big back in the day, and it kind of just as far as the idea of it because it's not something people have really talked about in the last couple of years. It was kind of like in the background as far as my understanding from the people I was around. It was not something like people like talked about. It was just always like YouTube and Netflix and Hulu. And that's but
Right. There wasn't a lot of on-demand content back in the day.
but now it's getting that rise, and so many different platforms have been popping up lately. There's I'm actually in contact with a few people who are developing tools for podcasters uh, to try different things, and it's like really amazing because that's one that gives us some tools that we might be able to use in our in our projects like this. Hopefully, they'll work out.
Yeah,
Uh,
but we won't know until we try. And that's the thing. I don't even have cable. I mean, most people don't have cable these days because of Hulu, Netflix, and these streaming services. This is no different. I mean, it's just like paying for Sirius XM. Why would you do that when you have unlimited data and you can stream as many podcasts as you want and get better content?
I just need Game of Thrones. Kind of the only
Right.
reason I have cable.
Right, exactly. But even that though, that's an HBO, so you could pay. I think it's like $6 a month for HBO Go, probably a lot cheaper than what you're paying right now.
It was technically free until my buddy listened to this. Why'd you change your password? Why'd you change your password?
So yes, I agree with you. On demand is definitely better, and that's what I loved about. That's what I do love about doing this is because you can listen to the same message over and over and over again until I know I have a fan out there who tweets me at least once a week and just says, I've listened to your show 100 times because I need to hear that message every day.
So here's a good. So, what type of podcasts do you listen to, or do you listen to any at all with all the work you do?
I do. I listen to quite a few of them because that's part of my research and in elevating confessions. That's part of my research and saying like, oh, you have this cool podcast, come on my show, let's talk about it, and vice versa. It's always a good idea to kind of cross promote each other. But like, oh, what a glorious morning is hysterical. It's his name's Myler, and I just spoke to him yesterday, and his show is about his dreams. So he'll take a melatonin at night and he'll wake up in the morning. The first thing he does is grabs his phone and just talks about his dreams, and they're hysterical. But it's that very dry humor, and that's what I'm really drawn to. I love comedy. I love anything comedy, and I guess motivational self-help type ones that just kind of they kind of trick your brain into thinking a different way.
Interesting. Dream Journal, literally audio platform. That's
Right.
amazing. You see, that's
It's
another.
hysterical.
That
It's
is great.
hysterical.
It's something that that like you said earlier. It's there's multiple ideas, and if you don't put it out there, you never know. That's cool.
Right. But the way he does it, though, his delivery is what makes it hysterical because he's a very Melissa McCarthy type dry humor. So, I think if anybody else did it, I probably wouldn't be as interested in it because, I love dreams and I love to hear what other people are thinking about. But the way he delivers is what makes me so interested. So it also has to do something with the host as well.
True. So what was the name of that again? I might actually have to.
It's called Oh, What a Glorious Morning. And you could check out the interview that I just did with him soon, February 14th.
There you guys go. Actually, that might be around the time this actually pulls out. Interesting. But yeah, that's cool. Any other recommendations you would like to put out there?
As far as podcasts go?
Yeah, something that you enjoy listening.
It's such a varied thing right now. I don't have anything in particular. I just kind of been listening to a lot of different ones, actually, especially the ones in my field, just to kind of gain ideas. So there really isn't anything that I would totally recommend, but it's a good idea. I might put a recommendation list together and put it out there.
There you guys go. You look forward to that wherever that might show up. Okay.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I'm all over it.
Yeah, you'll get your moment to shine at that in a little bit. So we're coming to kind of the hour mark. So this is kind of the part of the show where I usually ask my guests to kind of share a tale of the weirdest, strangest, most convoluted thing that you've ever seen and have ever encountered or have ever done.
I would have to reflect upon my Johnny Depp journey, because when he was promoting that movie, there was a period in which he was acting as that actor, in the interview. And the reason I bring this up is because it gets good, I promise you. So we're having a conversation, and all of a sudden there was just this awkward silence. So I tried breaking that silence with another question, and he interrupted me and told me he wasn't done. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I understand you weren't done, but you and I, we're human beings at the end of the day. So you will respect me as much as I respect you. I understand, like, you've gotten this all day and this might not be something that you want to do, but, we can end this right now. And again, awkward silence. And all of a sudden I heard him say, I like you. I really like you. And then we continue the interview. It was just the weirdest thing ever.
What? That
Yeah,
is
strange.
What? Oh my god.
He's an odd bird. That's all I could say.
I'm not
Great guy,
well,
great actor, love his stuff, but man, he was just so odd during that interview.
oh god, that is so weird. Like people people out there have had moments kind of like that, but while having this, you were putting a setting where you were doing an interview, so you knew there was going to be talking. So having that weird awkward moment, wow.
Well, he had answered the question, and then there was that awkward pause. So I thought, okay, well, this is going on far too long, and so I just decided, okay, so tell me about. And he's like, "Whoa, I'm not done." And I was like, "Oh no, not today, Satan, not today."
Oh my god. Honestly, from if it in my shoes, that awkward silence would have felt like a lifetime.
And it just ruins things. I mean, you really don't want to be silent. I get it. If you're thinking about something, at least let me know. But the way he delivered it to me, and as I told you earlier, I come from a place of love, but I don't care who you are. You will respect me just as I'm respecting your time. Please respect mine as well.
There you guys go. That's another wonderful lesson. Please respect other people's time and let them respect you. Wait, other way around? No, wait, what?
Yeah, I get it. Because, I'm sure he got it 100 times that day. Same questions, different, cast, I guess. So he probably wanted to go home. He's exhausted. I know my head would be done in after a day like that too, but yeah, he just picked the wrong one.
Rough, but weird. Thank you for sharing that. That is a very interesting tale.
You're welcome. Although the interview turned out great, and like I said, I fully support him. He's a great actor, and he said he liked me afterwards, so which I felt pretty good about.
Hey, that's a bonus, and I agree on his acting prowess. He's a very diverse actor. Sometimes I forget what's the word? Some of the characters he plays, there's sometimes they try to typecast him, but he plays such like oddball roles that it's sometimes you can't tell it's him, and that works.
Yeah, but
like
he's so
that.
good at transformation, though. So that's the good news. He's very versatile in that aspect.
Is he? Actually, does he have anything coming out anytime soon, actually? I haven't heard anything as far as his works lately.
No, I heard he dropped out of the Pirates movies, and then, beyond that, I haven't really heard much about him since.
That's kind of good. Honestly, for me, I fell off the Pirates movies after like fourth one. There's just so many.
I watch them when they come on Netflix. I mean, I think they're good. I wasn't like I need to go to the theater and see them, but I thought they were pretty good. I really liked them.
Okay. All right. So now we're at the game show portion of the podcast. So, you decided to play Job Hunt. Job Hunt is a game where you're going to be trying to apply for 2 different jobs. The first job, you know ahead of time, you're trying to become a professional athlete. Some of
Yes.
the criteria that you have to meet are a jackhammer, loose morals, grass, filthy cats, a French accent, and any other qualifications you may have can be added while I interview. And then,
Okay.
so
So I have to use all of those criteria or just some of them?
all of them, you have to kind of somehow meld them into, or kind of use each as a point for why those are good points for trying to become a professional athlete.
Got it. Okay.
So
working into the conversation.
So I'll let you choose the sport. What type of professional athlete would you like to become?
See, this is so funny to me because I don't watch sports at all. So it's like I would be the athlete. I don't know. I would. I guess baseball is the first thing that comes to mind.
There you go. The first thing that comes to mind always works. All right, you're trying to become a professional baseballer.
All right.
You can tell that I don't watch that much sports as well.
Clearly, but I wasn't going to say anything.
But okay, so why would you like to become a professional athlete? What do you bring to this team?
Well, I can bat like a jackhammer. I know I can get even some home runs. That's never an issue. I don't really like I can remove grass stains from all of my uniforms, so that's one less thing you have to worry about. And morally, I like to do little steroids here and there, but we'll talk about that. And everybody loves cats, and I love them so much that I have 50 of them, so I feel like I can appeal to a completely different audience with how much I love my cats. And I'm bilingual. I can talk in French accent.
I don't know if the second one works, but that actually works as well.
Loose morals.
Well, that's true. Never mind. With the loose morals, the French accent does work in there. Do you have any other qualifications that you would like to speak of when trying to become a member of this team?
I can run fast, and I can sell anything just, with a wink and a smile.
That doesn't hurt too bad. All right. I'll keep my options open.
All right.
So,
well, when do I start?
Well, we have another position with this company. The second job you're trying to interview with these qualifications as well is, interesting, an adult store cashier. So
with the same
criteria.
Okay.
Do it with what you will.
Got it. All right.
So what can you bring to this adult store?
Well, I have a really great personality, and I'm a stickler for the rules. So I would be like a jackhammer here, making sure that nobody's doing anything inappropriate in the rooms that they're not supposed to do it. Although, if they pay me, I might let a couple slip by every so often. And I do like to take frequent cigarette breaks, but I won't put them out in the grass because I don't want to start a fire here. And I do have to request a lunch though, because I have 50 cats and I need to make sure that they're fed and changed. And it's kind of a hard thing to keep up with on a daily basis. But I hope nobody comes in here with a French accent because I really don't know French.
Oh, that works so well. That is amazing. All right. So the job I feel you're best suited for, your loose morals and the way our customers might hurt our business as far as our adult store. But I think you'll make a fantastic ball player.
Thank you. I mean, the morals can be negotiated, so don't worry about that.
At least you're honest. I'm not gonna lie. Or are you? That's the question here. But I feel
You'll never know.
But I feel you'll make a great member of our baseball team. So you're welcome to join.
Thank you. Overpaid. I'm down for it. Let's go.
Actually, you'll make more money as a baseballer, so why not?
That's true. That's true.
All right, then. So that's kind of it. You're now a baseballer. The game's over.
Awesome.
So
Cool.
we'll sign that contract. How much do those guys make? Make good money.
Yeah, probably more than we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Brings my heart down a little bit now. All right.
That's okay. We're doing stuff that we actually love doing. I'm not saying that they don't, but I certainly could not be in any sports. I'm not. I have a face for radio and pretty much a body for radio. I'm not athletic by any means. So.
And I'm there with you as well. So we're now at that point where I let my guests let the people know where they can find you, what you're doing.
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Confession Radio Net. You can go to the website at www.confessionradio.net, Twitter at Confession Radio, and Instagram Confession Radio Net. Like I said earlier in the show, just look out for the new segments called This Is My Story. It's an excellent segment, usually about 5 to 10 minutes of people who have been through depression, suicide, and I know it sounds heart-wrenching now, but their stories are so amazing because in the beginning they tell you who they are and what they've been through, and in the end they're just looking to help other people who have the same issues as they do. And so it's such a great thing. Also, listen to the interviews that are coming up. I have a lot of great interviews, a lot of very interesting people coming up, and the other part of that too is just always listen for the confessions. People are sending in their problems, looking for advice, and somebody is answering them.
There you guys go. Like, honestly, this is going to be one of my new favorite podcasts. Look forward to my subscription to that. I'm looking forward to all your things, and look forward to actually me submitting a confessional one of these days.
Let's go. And I bet you say that to all the people you interview too. It's okay. I understand.
Trust me, I plug myself anywhere I can.
I believe it. Good.
But honestly, I will continue listening to your show. I really do enjoy it, and honestly, people, that is honest truth. Like, I've enjoyed the show you've been putting out, and actually the stories that you just spoke of, like suicide and things like that. Those hard things are sometimes things that need to be sometimes listened. I actually recently saw a film that delved really deep with that topic in particular. And
yeah, it's a tough taboo topic, but we don't talk about it enough. And I know it's a downer and nobody wants to talk about it and whatever, but at the end of the day, we're all human and we deal with that. It's just how we deal with it. Knowing, like Bianca Ryan said it the best, like I didn't know that other artists, major artists like Christina Aguilera, had paralyzed vocal cords either until she came out with her story and raised awareness about it. There's not enough awareness. I mean, there's so many outlets now, and it's not just suicide. It's being bipolar, depression. I had somebody the other day that had multiple personality disorder, so there's just so much out there that we just need to raise awareness about. And it's not taboo anymore, guys. This is the norm. We're talking about it. We're trying to help you out.
Well, I'm looking forward to more of it then. So, as always, thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate, David, thank you for taking the time to join me and converse.
Yeah, thank you. It was excellent. I had a great time. Thank you.
You're welcome. As always, guys, if you want to get in contact with me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'll have all the links for everything for Confession Radio and for this podcast down below. So thanks again for listening. Until next time. See ya.
Hey everybody, my name is Grant, and I host a podcast called It's Trivial. Now, It's Trivial is a game show in which I pit comedians, musicians, podcasters, and other interesting people against one another, usually in front of a live audience for the sake of public ridicule. Hope you'll check it out. There's something there for everybody. There's stuff for people who like movies, music, history, geography, comic books, and even more. Be sure to give me a follow here on social media on Instagram and Twitter at It's Trivial Show, and check out the entire first season of It's Trivial now in your favorite podcast app. Thanks.